welcome. You're watching Your Money Matters here at NDTV Profit, the last show for 2025. So festive season greetings and a very happy new year to all our viewers out there. The topic that we're going to take today for discussion is retirement. Now, retirement has jumped from 8th to the #1 financial priority for Indian households in 2025. A dramatic shift in mindset. Yet, paradoxically, only 37% actually have a retirement plan in place, down sharply from 2 years ago. So awareness is rising, intent is strong, but I think execution seems to be slipping. What's holding Indian savers back from turning concern into concrete action is the question that we're going to take up with Abhishek Tiwari, who's the CEO of PGIM India Asset Management, joining us now. Abhishek, thank you so much, first of all, for taking out the time, and a very happy new year to you and your family. My first question to you is that, as I just mentioned from your report itself, that retirement has become the top priority for financial goals these days, but we're still lagging in terms of execution. What is it that's widening the gap between intent and actual execution?
All right, thank you, Mahima, first of all, for having me in the show, and a very, very happy new year to you, the crew, as well as to all the audience who are listening to us.
Thank you.
Retirement has been the center, has always taken the center stage whenever we talk about solving for financial priorities for our investors. And I think it is very, very centered to what you and I would be worried about on a day-to-day basis as well. I think, first of all, let me just highlight that this is the third edition of Retirement Readiness Survey that we have undertaken at PGIM with the help of Nielsen IQ. And I think, as you rightly said, Mahima, the findings are not only a little, staggering, but it is sobering as well as inspiring. The reason I say that is that the whole economic landscape itself has evolved between the three editions of report that we have gone through. And I think this time around, what is very, very sobering is the fact that while the retirement has taken the #1 priority in the agenda of the set of people who we have surveyed, but at the same time, when you actually look at it in terms of having an actual financial plan focused on retirement, that number is being pretty low, as rightly highlighted by you. I think while people have prioritized it, I think the gap between the intent and action is what we are talking about. And I think there are quite a few realities. And first one, starting right at the baseline, which is that we are now far away from where COVID was. The last edition of Retirement Readiness Survey, when we had done in 23, did have a lot of opinions come through because of the overhang of what they would have experienced during COVID. Now that we are far away from COVID, people are going back to some of their earlier priorities. And one of those priorities that is coming out very, very clearly is that while you would want to focus on, savings, you would want to focus on protection, but then you also want to very, very heavily focus on yourself. How do you develop your skills? How do you really get future ready? Alongside that, one of the common themes that came out is while people have become wealthier, at the same time, expenses have obviously gone through the roof, right? Lifestyle-related expenses, qualification-related expenses. So day-to-day lifestyle is really taking a toll on our financial budgets. So all of these things put together really, really contributes to what comes out in these surveys. Having said that, I must also add a couple of more points, Mahima, which will be very intuitive when you hear that. One is that, while the sample set of the survey is obviously very, very well diversified between, income groups, age groups, as well as, geographies, one of the common things that came out was that most people, when they think about retirement as an outcome, cannot really identify with the future self, right? It has to do with the basic tendency of the brain not being able to think too much in the future. And when you then talk about dealing with something as complex as a financial plan for something that you can't identify with today, it becomes doubly complex. Leave apart the facts that a lot of it is getting influenced by what's happening in the influencer world. A lot of it is getting literally influenced by the near-term exceptional exuberism that you have seen from the equity markets and so on and so forth. So those are the aspects which will obviously influence all these outcomes.
Interesting, because Abhishek, my next question to you would have been this: that whether it's actually a behavioral problem or a product complexity problem, or is it just procrastination that is taking place? But I think you've answered that very well. It's a combination of a lot of things that's probably leading to this. The other interesting thing that I read was with regards to insurance-led planning, right? The report points out to moving away from bundled insurance-led retirement solutions, and this is a healthy evolution according to you, right? Because investors, considering that now they're viewing insurance not just from an investment point of view, but from a lot of different lenses, right? Because it's important at the end of the day to have insurance in place, right? So what is it that you've observed in terms of trend? Is it structural? Is it something that you've observed just this year? How is that panning out?
Yeah. So Mahima, in my few comments that I made earlier, one of the aspects that I was trying to highlight, which maybe did not come out that well, is that when you look at the preparedness or people acknowledging that how are they prepared, till the last survey, which was 2023, people used to literally highlight preparedness to insurance coverage, whether for life or for health. And I think that is directly contextual to the fact that there was a lot of significance of what COVID taught us. Having said that, I think one of the reasons that you see that while retirement has taken number one priority, but the acknowledgement that they are not prepared, which is coming out in this report, is that they now clearly realize that there is a difference between just insurance coverage and safety and wealth planning, or for that matter, retirement planning. The other aspect which Mahima gets lost in translation is the fact that there is, and like you brought it out in the last question of yours, products in itself, the discoverability of the products, or for that matter, the discoverability of a financial advisor who can help you with a plan to retirement, both also form a big component of this journey. So when you put these few things together in a wheel, you will realize that the complications to the at the back end, whether it is in terms of, first of all, being able to acknowledge that yes, wealth planning or retirement planning is a very different goal versus just insurance coverage, whether from a life or a health insurance perspective, or for that matter, getting to the right product, which means the discoverability of the product combined with the fact that you have the ability to get across to a financial advisor who can help you with that entire journey well, are the two other components which become fairly important. If I were to complicate it a little more, the fact that most of us are coming or are evolving from a society who has been extremely exposed to the traditional forms of saving products, whether you talk about fixed deposits, whether you talk about gold, whether you talk about maybe PPF, which is still borderline, and I think we can debate on PPF, which is also not penetrated that well. But having said that, the traditional forms of investments have still taken precedence. Combine that with the fact that while financial advisors will be talking about goal planning as a very important cornerstone of how they lead their practices, the ability for an investor to be able to trust them through something which is far off in the future. So there's a concept called the distance to an event, and in this case, the distance to an event such as retirement is far off in the future. For somebody to be able to be trustworthy for the entire journey is in itself the other challenge that keeps people on the back foot.
Understood. Abhishek, the other aspect is with regards to the age at which one needs to start retirement planning, right? This is a question
Yeah.
which probably a lot of our viewers have. What is the right age to probably start planning for your retirement? One thing, because I think the trend right now for a lot of youngsters out there, a lot of Gen Zs out there, is also to retire as early as possible, right? So what is that right age to start planning?
All right. So one of the findings, Mahima, in our survey has been that I think that trend is slowly shifting. And while the whole concept of financial independence and retiring early was a trend which was under the acronym FIRE had caught up like wildfire some time back. I think in our survey, what we have found out is people now define their understanding of their working age very differently. So there's a large part of the population which is now talking about not taking retirement at all. There's a large part of population which is now talking about actually increasing their time to work, whereas they may be right now thinking and debating the aspect as to what are the things that they can do which can lengthen their retirement age. So those are also a couple of findings which are directly in conflict with this whole trend of financial independence and retiring early as a trend. Um, if you think about it very honestly, I think it has a lot to do with where are you in your own balance sheet, right? So till about 2 years back, when insurance or when protection had taken precedence, people were talking about things like retiring early because that directly coincides with the fact that people want to live a healthier life, more balanced life, with more time for family, and so on and so forth. Now that you are off that track and you are getting into a world which is normalizing, uh, you can easily see that people are focusing back in terms of wealth creation. People have prioritized investment return outcomes as their topmost priority. And at the same time, they're clearly realizing that with the way things are becoming, a lifestyle is becoming costlier, the ability for them to be able to plug out and retire early is not going to be as simple as what they were thinking about it when they were under the influence of the post-COVID era. So all of these things combined, Naima, are the findings and maybe some of the reasons that I could highlight. It's obviously not exhaustive, but some of the reasons that I could highlight, that we are seeing through the survey.
Right. Just one last quick question, Abhishek, with regards to alternative sources of income, because for that also, according to your report, intent has been rising, right? How important do you think that aspect has to play with regards to your retirement planning?
Oh, it's extremely important, Naima. In fact, one of the things that we work with our associates, with our distribution partners very heavily, is to be able to teach people how they can literally evaluate various skill sets that people can monetize, which can become their secondary source of income, and maybe one of the ways of lengthening their ability to be involved in some kind of a work. It also has a ramification directly to the mental health. Because one of the things that is extremely negative about retirement is that when people start visualizing a scenario where they are no longer useful, where they're no longer productive. But when you think about alternative sources of income, which is basically under the garb of using one of your skill sets and being prepared to be able to monetize it for a longer period of time, I think it becomes very important as one of the factors. But having said that, I think in terms of the findings, the number one secondary source of income for people is still investment income, which may not be wrong. It can be debated, however, but it may not be wrong because obviously India is a growing economy, and well-run investment portfolios can be your a good source of income for you. But having said that, what is very inspiring is to see that people are really looking at establishing alternate businesses. People are really focusing on utilizing their own skill sets to be able to package services, which can be their regular source of secondary income. And that can itself find its way to be able to create financial portfolios, protection portfolios, and so on and so forth. So that's clearly been a trend which is improving. Having said that, when you look at those absolute numbers, that trend from maybe 47% has come down to about 44% or so. So it can be looked at as a little concerning to say that it has come off from the last survey. But having said that, I think the important point of that we will take away from these findings are that the awareness towards secondary source of income, which can come out of establishing second line businesses, alternative businesses, or utilizing your skill sets to be able to create a secondary source of income. is something which is heartening to take away from this survey.
Absolutely, Abhishek, and I hope that a lot of our viewers understand as to what exactly is happening and how exactly are they supposed to take into consideration the points that they need to take into consideration while they plan their retirement. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for giving us all those insights, and thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking with us at NDTV Profit.
Thank you, Emma.